I will show you 2 Sudoku skills that are hard to learn but will pay off time and time again as you refuse to be stuck by hard puzzles like this. And with that, it's solving time. So with any hard puzzle, you want to start looking for digit restrictions from 1 to 9. Notice where the 1s can be. Because of these 2 1s and this one, there's 2 places for a 1 in block 3. And so I'll mark that when there's only 2 possibilities for any candidate in a 3x3 block. That shows you the restriction that's available there and will help you solve one of these cells for 1 much faster later on. Then with block 5, these 2 cells are the only possibilities for 1s. And in block 7, with these 2 1s, you can mark 1s right there. Greetings, friend. This puzzle from round 4 of the 2025 Sudoku Grand Prix may be the hardest classic I've ever seen in competition. I'm not kidding. I'll show you 2 Sudoku skills that will get you past common blind spots that would prevent you from solving this hard puzzle otherwise. The second skill will get you to stop looking for the same possibilities over and over again, only to fail. And before I move on to the first skill, I want to hear from you. What skill have you learned from watching this channel? Please, please, please share this in the comments. I'm curious to see what skills and techniques you found useful, and I might use them again in future videos. And I want you to help me grow the internet's best Sudoku community. Now, we're done with the 1s. Let's check out the 2s. With these 2s, there's only 2 places for a 2 in block 7. And so by doing these marks, you're testing the puzzle. How hard is it? Hopefully we can get some easy solves. With the 3s, only 2 places for a 3 in block 1. And then with these 2 3s, only 2 places in block 8. Nothing else with the 3s. Go to the 4s, you'll see 2 places for a 4 in block 3. And then with this 4 coming down the column, this 4 cutting across the row, you notice you only have 2 places for a 4 in block 4. And they're in the same row. So this is a pointing pair of 4s. Since they're in the same row, 4s can't be anywhere else along that row. And since you already have a 4 right here, you now restrict the 4s to these 2 cells in block 5. And move on to the 5s. What you might notice is this 5 is in the same row as this 4, and this 5 in the same column as this 4. It restricts the 5s to these 2 cells. And so that's a 4-5 hidden pair. Since the 4 and 5 have to be in these 2 cells and nowhere else, nothing else can be in those cells. This is helpful. This is not the skill you need to see, but you do need to find hidden pairs like this if you want to solve hard puzzles. What else can we do with the 5s? Nothing else there, where there's only 2 possibilities. Move on to the 6s. In block 2, only 2 places for a 6 right there. And then in block 6, because of this 6 and this 6 cutting across, you have another pointing pair of 6s, which restricts the 6s in block 4 to these 2 cells. And that's it with the 6s. Go on to 7s. You may notice we haven't solved anything yet. You can't make any marks with the 7s. This is a tough puzzle. And you may want to quit. Don't quit. I'm going to show you these 2 skills. Move on to the 8s. Now with that 4-5 hidden pair, you end up with a pointing pair of 8s in block 3. And then with these 2 8s and this 8, 2 places for an 8 in block 4. And then in block 9 with these 2 8s, 2 8s right there. And nothing else with the 8s. Move on to the 9s. You'll notice with all 3 of these 9s, looking into block 5, 2 places for a 9 right there. And you may notice we went all the way 1 to 9, no solves. We just have some marks and a hidden pair. This is a tough puzzle. Now you want to go through and see if there's maybe anything else you can add, especially since we have this hidden pair. Well, if you put the 3 cutting across here, you'll notice you have a pointing pair of 3s now in block 3. And this brings you up to skill number 1. So skill number 1, what you got to find is what I'm going to show you right here, looking in column 1. This is what's on the thumbnail. You want to look and see that you have a 3 and 8 right here. And so 3, 8 cannot be in any of these empty cells. how much further are the 3s and 8s restricted in this column? This is kind of the key here. Well, you'll notice it can't be in these 3 cells. It could be here. They could be here, but you have a 3 and a pointing pair of 8s that look at that cell. So they cannot be there. So what are the only 2 cells that can contain a 3 and an 8 in column 1? It's these 2 cells right here, right? It can't be here, and it can't be here because of the 3 and the pointing pair of 8s. This is the skill. You have to be able to find hidden pairs that appear in 2 different blocks. It's very easy to find these types of hidden pairs just using normal marking. This is a lot harder to find, and I bet you had a hard time finding this. What does it mean for our puzzle? It means the 3 and 8 have to be in these 2 cells. Nothing else can be there. And what you might notice now is since there's a 4 marked right there, 4 can't be in the cell, you can displace that 4 and solve this cell now for a 4. And so you can get your first solved cell there. But we're not done. You got to use this skill again very quickly. What you might see now, since this is a 3-8 and this is a 3-8, where can the 1 go in column 1? Can't be here because of this one. Can't be here because of these ones. So you can actually solve this cell now for a 1 as well. So you make some progress. You got some reward for finding this 3-8 hidden pair. And then these 4s, restrict 4s to these 2 cells in block 7. And that's going to be it. That's all you're going to find with that hidden pair. But the person who created this, and remember, the United States made these puzzles, they're handmade classics, want you to look and see if you can do this again. The 3-8 restricts 3s and 8s from being in these 3 cells in row 9. Look to see if there's any other restriction along row 9. A 3 and 8 could be there, and it could be there, but in this cell, you'll see an 8 and a pointing pair of 3s. So instead of the 3 with a pointing pair of 8s, now you have an 8 with a pointing pair of 3s. So where can the 3 and 8 be in row 9? Only these 2 cells right here. This is beautiful stuff. Very hard to find, though. That's why you have to develop this skill. Once you went through and didn't see any solves, now you start looking for pairs. You start looking for double cell restrictions like this, and you'll notice you're going to end up finding a hidden pair like this one. And what does that do for the puzzle? Well, you might notice now that a 4 can't be here, and it can't be here because of these 4s. You can solve this cell now for a 4. It's a hidden single in row 9. The only place in row 9 a 4 can go. And this is just the first skill, but this will get your break into this puzzle. The second skill is actually harder to find. And I don't want you to give up on this puzzle yet, but we're going to move on and see how to get to it. Do some marks here. Now you want to start looking at some of these pairs and bi-value cells. This has to be a 6, 7 to go along with this 3 and 8. And then you might see with this 5 cutting across and this 5 and the 3, 8 mark there, this is now a pointing pair of 5s that restricts the 5s here in block 7. And I will remove that 3, 8 there. And that's going to be about all you're going to find. So you want to start now, like I said, looking and marking bi-value cells, BVCs. Look at this cell right here. What could it be? It can't be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, or an 8. So this could be a 6 or a 9. Another intent here. Remember I just marked this 6, 7. I marked this 6, 7 naked pair. You need to notice something about that. You want to compare this now because this is the second skill you need to learn. When you're stuck and you found all of the normal top 7 strategies, like in my free Sudoku solving guide, what you have to look for now is more advanced strategies in either single candidate or bi-value cells. If you notice, the 6s are restricted to these 2 cells in column 1. It makes them a conjugate pair. So a 6 is either here. If it's not here, it has to be there. If you come over here, because of the 3, 8 there, where can a 6 be in column 5? Can't be here because of this 6. Can't be here because of that 6. It can only be in these 2 cells right there. So a 6 can only be there or there. If a 6 is here in this cell, where does it put a 6 in column 1? It put it right there. because you eliminate from these two cells. If this isn't a 6 has to be here, which will eliminate 6s from here and put a 6 in that cell. This is a Sudoku X-wing. You have to find this X-wing to make more progress in this puzzle. This is hard stuff. You normally don't find these. In fact, there's even been a riot. There's been people complaining about the competition puzzles being too hard if they contain something like an X-wing, but this puzzle does. And it's okay to find and look for those, because what does it do for our puzzle? What it means is a 6 can't be in any of these cells in rows 3 or 7. Since that has a 6, you can remove a 6 from that cell. The only possibility now would be a 9. And you're like, why can't I remove a 6? Well, if you put a 6 here, you eliminate 6s from these two cells, and then you would notice that the only place to put a 6 in column 1 and 5 would be here and here, and then that would be in the same row, and you can't do that. You'd break the puzzle. So what you can do is solve this now for a 9. And keep this X-wing up, because now you just put a bunch of more restriction on column 3. It makes it a heavy house. You have 5 cells filled out. I call it a heavy house. It's where you want to look next. You got a 1, 4, 7, 8, 9. So it just leaves a 2, 3, 5, 6. 2 can't be here. This can't be a 5. And you'll notice this can't be a 3. It can't be a 5 either because of the pointing pair of 5s. And now it can't be a 6 because of the X-wing. So you can solve this cell now for a 2. And this is beautiful. Beautiful. You can put a 2 right there. And you can eliminate the 3 as well. You can use that to now help you solve the rest of this puzzle. And so those are the 2 main skills you're going to keep looking and solving, because this puzzle is far from being completely solved. In fact, I got a bonus skill for you if you keep watching. But where do you go next? Well, row, column, block. You solve for a 9. With this 9, only one place for a 9 now in block 7. And so then with these 2 9s and this 9, you can mark 9s in block 9. And now you look in here, you displace that 5, you can solve this cell for a 5. You end up with a 6, 7 naked pair in block 7. After that, look across here. You got the 1, 2, 3, and 8, 4, 5, 7, 9. Only thing missing is a 6. So you can solve this cell now for a 6. And you want to look at your marks that you made and try because these are the one-step restrictions. You remove one of these, you're solving this other cell right away. So you can solve that for a 6. This is where you want to look now. And then you may notice in block 3, you have this 3, 9 right here. Can't be in any of these cells. So where can the 3 and 9 be? Well, the 3s are here, and so are the 9s. So that's a 3, 9 hidden pair, which puts more restriction on this column, right? Column 9. So I'm not sure why I can't just mark everything there. But hey, so we got column 9. You got a 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9. You just need 1, 2, 7. Well, the 1, 2 right here, this is going to be now your 7. Displacing that 9, displacing this 8, allowing you to solve that for 3. And you can remove the 3 from right there. And then these 2 cells would be 1 or 2. And we can do better than that, because what you might see is this is a 1, 2, or 8 naked triple to go along with the 4, 5, and a 3, 9. You can solve all 3 with my neat naked triple trick. The 1 and 8 are right here. The 8's repeated. It means this is the only place for 2. 8 has to go right there, and this is going to be your 1, allowing you to solve this cell now for a 2. And then after doing that, you might notice you have a 6, 7 cutting across row 1. And let's take this and do some more solves. Remember the 7 right here? That puts a 6 and 7 in these 2 spots. So now you can disambiguate the 7 and the 6 up here. And then with this 6, and these 2 6s and this 6, you can solve for a 6 here. And that's going to help you make more solves. With this 2, that's got to be your 2. And you might notice you just need a 4, 5, and an 8. 8 and 5 are right there in the column. So there's your 4. And that's going to be your 5 and your 8. impact on a real common block with this 4. You can displace that for a 4 and solve this now for a 4. And then you have a nice heavy house here in column 6, a 1, 4, 5, 6, 8. You just need 2, 3, 7, and 9. Well, 2, 3, and 7, oh, look at this cell. That has to be your 9, which displaces this 9. Solve that for 9, displacing the 1. See how that works? You're using all these marks to get quicker solves at the end. With that 9, that's a 3. That's going to be a 9. With this 3, displace that 3. Now you can solve this for a 3, solve this for your 8. And with this 5, that's got to be your 6. That's going to be your 3, displacing that 6. Let's continue on with our solves here. You just need a 1 and a 2 right here. Pull that 2 over from row 5. There's your 2. There's going to be your 1. And then these ones and this one, you can solve for a 1 right there. Look across row 4 now. You got 7 digits filled out. You just need a 3 and a 5. Well, this 5 tells you that's your 3, that's your 5. And now you can disambiguate the 4, 5 right there. Try to gobble up those marks as quickly as possible. Leaves you with a 3, 4 down here. With this 4, there's your 4. There's going to be your 3. And then you just have a 3 and 7 right there. With this 3, there's your 3, and there's going to be your 7. And now this very hard puzzle is quite approachable because you found and used those 2 skills I showed you. With these 2s, this has got to be a 2 right there. You have a full house, 8 of 9 cells filled out in column 6, so you know you can solve this cell for certainty for a 7, and this has to be your 5. Allows you to disambiguate the 8, 5 right there. Come on up, another full house in column 5. I don't see a 7, so that's got to be your 7. Look at these 2 together. You need a 4 and an 8 with this 4. There's your 4. There's going to be your 8. Take that 8 over here to block 1. There's your 8. And our last digit is a 5. Now challenge yourself to use the 2 skills you just learned to solve this next competition puzzle. Thank you so much for watching.